To a story of how COVID-19 has shattered the life of a 34-year-old new mother. Fridah Mwendwa has faced excruciating suffering for the past 4 months, during which she's been nursing complications from COVID-19. Now, she was forced to give birth when she was only 28 weeks pregnant after contracting the Delta variant back in August. Her family had to make adjustments to take care of the now 4-month-old baby and also, get this, contend with hospital bills close to 20 million Kenya shillings now. And as Fridah continues to nurse the complications that have left her incapacitated. Now, Sam Gituku spoke to the family of Fridah Mwendwa, who is also an orphan, and here's that report.
Fridah has been expecting that particular time. She was 28 weeks in her pregnancy. And something happened. She started complaining about having problem with she could not breathe well. She was feeling in dizziness and all that. And basically, because that's when you had the Delta variant, we started worrying.
She was very, very healthy. And even the pregnancy period was very easy for her until that moment.
There was no bed capacity except Nairobi Hospital. So we rushed her to Nairobi Hospital where we were told that they have a space. And when we reached there, they said that they'll have to test her for COVID, but she was admitted. And they tested her COVID the following day, and she's tested positive. So the CS was done on the following day, that is on 5th of August 2021. And they removed the child, who turned to be a boy. And the child was taken to NICO, that's neonatal intensive care unit. And Fridah was taken to intensive care unit on the COVID side of Nairobi Hospital.
She was able to write for me a message, and she told me that she was happy she got a baby boy. And then the last thing she told me was, ask Daddy to give me a name, to give him a name. So after some time, that's when we decided to name him Getonga. But for the first name, we decided to preserve it for the mother, because I'm sure she must be having a name that she had wanted to give the baby.
After 2 weeks, she was actually told she is COVID-free. It means now she can be able to breathe on her own. Although still in a ventilator, the doctor never took the risk. They transferred her now to the main hospital where the other patients were, who are not COVID. And, that's the area now where they are preparing her now to, to make sure that she's very stable, and, now they can remove her from the ICU.
I remember it was a Saturday afternoon. Whenever I was not able to go and the father is there, I would always keep calling. But that particular day was different because I called and he was not picking. At the moment that he picked, you could tell from the way he was talking that things were not very good. But there's one thing he told me, and I will never forget that. Aliniambia, wacha tuachie Mungu. So that one really put me in a lot of panic.
On 20th August, we are told that she had an attack.
Fridah had 2 cardiac arrests, and in that situation, that led to hypoxia, or low oxygen circulating to her brain. And she got what we call hypoxic encephalopathy, which means brain damage due to low levels of oxygen. So when that happens, you've got several billion nerve cells in your brain. And when they lack oxygen, some die off. So you do get the cells dying, and they can no longer function. And this leads to a long state of what is now we are calling hypoxic encephalopathy. So that's where she is right now, and she is now recovering from the complications of that.
I can't say she was conscious. She could look at you, but basically you can't know whether she is conscious.
We cannot say she's lucky, but we lost several people, several pregnant women who got COVID during that Delta wave. So she's one of those who survived, but she has survived with complications. She was admitted on the 3rd of August. So as you can see, she's been in hospital now for 4 months.
And in total, she has stayed in a ICU for 54 days, and in HDU 35 days, and now she's in an ordinary ward, and she's still in the hospital.
COVID-19 causes destruction of your lung tissue. So people do get lung damage, and during recovery, they recover with something called fibrosis. That's where the lung gets scarred. You get out of scar tissue, and the lung doesn't function the way it was functioning before. So she is having the complications of having prolonged intubation, as well as the complications of having of the COVID-19 that she had. So that leads to a lot of secretions developing in her airway, which have to be suctioned very frequently. That leads to frequent infections. All kinds of resistant bacteria have been isolated in her. They keep on infecting her lung. That leads to difficulties with oxygenation. So it's a difficult situation.
Fridah cannot stay in hospital forever. She'll have to get out, but her recovery is very, very slow. At one point, she may have to have home care. So we are open to that. We know that at one point she might have to come to the house and continue recovering from the house, if that has to be that way.
Assuming she gets no other complications, she will show gradual recovery over time. But it's a long and difficult time ahead of her. Discharge from hospital is not the end of it for her. She's going to need long-term care and support.
Has never seen the baby. The only thing she has seen is the photo. And of course, I've taken the video, which I've shown her.
We try to reassure her that the baby is okay, and you can see the reaction. She cries. So from a mother's perspective, when you see that reaction, you know that she really wants to be with her baby. And I even remember that before she fell sick, she was very excited about the baby. And we could see it because at 28 weeks, she had actually done almost everything that an expectant mother should have done. Everything was in place.
But we tell her that we want you to recover very fast so that you can come home and see the baby yourself.
I thank God that Gitonga is there. He's such a joy to us, of course. Whenever you stay with him, you talk to him. But of course, you also have those other thoughts at the back of your mind. Does he know that I'm not the mom, I'm the shush? Does he know that? So I keep saying that I'm the shusho. So we hope that the day that they reunite, it will not be very difficult for us. He's doing well. He's gaining weight very well. The doctors are happy with him, with the way he's progressing. But of course, they keep reminding us that we should really avoid visitors, people coming to see him, until he has reached that point that we are sure he's out of danger. Because remember, he's a preterm baby. We have some milk, specific kind of formula, which they say is just as good as the mother's breast milk. And we tend to believe it is good because as a preterm baby, we've not had any attacks, we've not had any infections, and he's picking up very well. At the hospital, when we checked the bill, they used to sell a tin of 400 grams at about 10,300 shillings. We looked for an alternative. We were able to get the same kind of milk from another outlet, but at a subsidized price of about 7,500 for a 400 gram tin. It takes the baby for not more than 5 days. It has really drained the family so much in terms of finances. The bill is so enormous. We don't even want to think about it,
She had an insurance cover. That insurance declined to cover because they say that she had COVID. And the cover was good. It's over 10 million, but insurance declined. And generally, they were declining to cover anybody with COVID. The Nairobi hospital now started telling us, make deposit. So we continued actually raising funds with friends and family. We created WhatsApp for fundraising. And we managed in total to raise around 3.5 million with families and friends. And that's how we have managed to remove the child from the hospital, because the total amount outstanding bill for the child was around 2.5 million. We cleared it, and the rest of the money we deposited now to the account of the Fridah. And currently we have an outstanding bill of around over 16 million.
Those are figures that you'd never have imagined. And we do not even know how such a thing can be tackled.
We are not thinking of the cost ending with her discharge. She will continue accumulating bills and expenses even after discharge. So this is something which is really, really difficult and really pressing for the family.
Every other day we are thinking of options. We do not know what to do. But we still thank God that at least we have the life. The life is there. Then the rest we see that God will sort us out. So for the children, it's not easy. They have been looking up to her. And even when she managed to get a job, you see that she is able to really take care of them, spoil them at times. So now that one is not there for now, because now we are handling this other problem. I'm sure they are feeling it. And especially for the last girl, the one in Form 2, she was her mentor. She looks up to Fridah for so much. And even when we talk, you hear that she wants to follow the footsteps of her sister.
She's likely to remain dependent on others in the long term. So about speech, whether it will come back, it may. Maybe a few words may be possible. You know, she might be able to speak one or two things. But that also is something long term. Not something really that we can say that she will be able to speak in the next 3 months. That needs to be reassessed after maybe 1 year, and then we see where things have reached.
Had Fridah been vaccinated, or assuming Fridah contracted COVID when she was not expecting, she should not have gone through what she's going through now. Still, had she been vaccinated even in her pregnancy, of which it was not happening at that particular time, I'm sure she would have gotten out of this problem long ago. Her due date was in September, so I'm sure by now she would be perhaps in her house as a new mother, trying to bond with her baby.
There are many other ways. We have seen people developing seizures, epileptic seizures, developing afresh due to COVID-19. We've seen people developing tremors and other conditions due to COVID-19. We've seen people developing mood disorders, where people start feeling very depressed and so on after recovery, but they didn't have that before they got the COVID-19. We need to keep on the basic preventive measures, masking, hand washing, social distancing and all that, and also vaccination. Vaccination has helped. It's preventing a disease, serious disease. It's preventing death, and therefore it's something, and the vaccines are there and they are free. And so far, we have not had very many serious side effects from the vaccines.